Welcome. Today is the 9th of October 2022. We're just going to do a quick market analysis for our layover trading on the overall S&P, the VIX. Those are going to be the keys for today. Also, the Dow a little bit. So big picture before we hop into this, be cautious this week. If you don't feel comfortable trading, sit on the sideline. Watch how the market plays out. We're at a crux or a crucial transition point for the SPY and the overall market. This could mean one or two things. We could break below the key levels I want to talk about, and that means it's going to be an ugly downside ride if you're a bullish player. But for those who are bearish, this may be a great time for you if it breaks below that level that I'm talking about. But there always could be an easy bounce off of this as well. So we're showing a little bit of conflicting information and looking at different indices. So that's why I'm going to say be cautious. But without any further delay, let's really just hop into it. So now we're currently looking at the overall heat map. The market was really down. Key players here: Microsoft down 5%, Amazon down 4.7%, Apple 3.67%. Those are significant levels to be down, especially since we're already at low levels now. We actually even had Netflix down 6%. That's kind of huge, and I believe we had a few others that were down a little more than that. Nvidia, for example, down 8%. So keep that in mind as we go through the market. And this was just Friday's close, but those are significant levels to really look at. So the VIX, one thing I do like, the VIX is starting to show a descending level of resistance. So what I like about that is the fact that these four candles respected this resistance line, and actually this last candle on Friday did as well. With that being said, what I'm really hoping for is for a continued downtrend in this direction here. And then that should inversely correlate to the SPY actually moving up. But that's because I'm a bullish trader. So just keep that in mind. Now, looking at the SPY, let's talk about the big picture weekly chart here. What I see, we're looking at around for the SPY, we're looking around at 358 for the 200 moving average. We respected that pretty much in that range. So I do like that piece. Also, that was previous resistance here. And a little bit of support in this level, or in this range, this time frame back here in the November 20 time. Now, I do like that. Now, what I don't like, we'll look at the daily chart, by the way. So I do see that same support that we're talking about here, the bounce for the SPY. Now, what I don't like is the fact that we're getting conflicting information. If I go over to the Dow, even though the SPY is still respecting that range for the 200 moving average, the Dow 3 days or 3 weeks have actually broken close below the 200 moving average. That happened back around COVID time frame. Other than that, it hasn't. But those are key levels to watch. Now, just to give you an actual specific number, what I'm looking for, the low here on the previous week candle was 357. Having an alert set for 357 here. And also that 358.66, as I said, was the 200 moving average. So I'm going to look at 357. If we break below 357, the SPY, then I'm looking for a move significantly lower. And my strategy for the near term is probably going to be put some bear strategies. Overall recommendation, though, if you're going to do anything on the bullish side, buy plenty of time. If you're doing the options, that's essentially going to be elite. If you're just buying outright securities, you have it until you want to sell it. But big picture stuff, make sure that you have funds available to cost average down. I buy now, I buy when it goes lower. Same thing applies to securities and also options as well. If you're planning any shorter term stuff, we'll talk about that on like maybe 2 potential trades that I see for earnings play. But Dow, I do not like the conflict between that and the SPY. Very similar to the power Qs, the triple Qs. Even though this is a green, somewhat doji here, it closed below the 200 moving average. I don't necessarily like that. So that's the conflict I'm talking about for the SPY, Dow, and the power Qs. Now, what I will say, the other thing is historically looking back, the power Qs have pretty much since April of 2010 stayed above the 200 moving average. So us breaking, if we close and move even lower on the 200 moving average, especially if we break the previous weekly candlestick here, which was a low of 267.10. So I have an alert set for 267. That's going to be a key indicator that we're going to even more bearish times here. So keep that in mind. Those are the key levels that I'm watching, and just look at the overall historical data and recognize that, hey, my strategy, if I'm playing for a bullish trade, needs to be very long term. Let's move into some of my favorites. So All of these, most of these are yellow because they're cautions for me. I have a few that are kind of earnings play that I may be okay with going bullish on, but these are caution plays. So I am waiting for specific triggers, and the triggers I'm waiting for are the overall indices. Like I said before, the 357 break on the SPY. If we break above the VIX, then that's going to tell me a lot about where the market is going. We have support here on AMD going back from the February 20 time frame, June 20. We're back at that same level. On the weekly chart, we're below the 200 moving average. I don't like it because typically we've always stayed above the 200 moving average. If I go to the daily chart, we're below on the RSI, which I kind of like. That is a positive. But with a low RSI, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get a bullish bounce or anything like that. But we do have earnings coming up on the 1st of November. So just keep that in mind. If we break below the level that we're currently at now, we can easily move to the downside here to continue to fill this channel in this range here. So keep that in mind. But ultimately, I'm waiting on the SPY. If the SPY breaks 357, then I'm looking for bearish plays to the downside here. So that's why I said it's a caution. If it holds, the SPY specifically, that is, if it holds, then maybe I'm looking at a bullish bounce. So NVIDIA closed below the 200 on the weekly. However, we do have support in this range. I have a alert already set. If I go down to the daily chart, you can see my alert is set here for, that's 114.92, so essentially 115. If I'm going to potentially catch a bounce, but really what I'm looking for is to see how the overall market moves. If the market breaks to the downside, then that's where we start looking for a move down here to fill that. Earnings coming up on NVIDIA for the 17th of November, so a little further out than some of the other ones we'll talk about today. Tesla. Tesla had a huge, if we go to the weekly, huge gap down and move down. That's a huge candlestick there. We do have a little support in this low or range around the 210 area. We're still above the 200 EMA or moving average, which is kind of nice. We have support here back in the May 22 and also June 22 time frame, and also back here in this range of July 21. So we can easily get a move down to that level of 208, maybe even 200. RSI is low on the daily chart as well, so I do like that. So Tesla is one that I'm actually okay with, especially since we're going into earnings, 19 October. I actually may take a risky trade there. Granted, me taking this trade is also realizing that I'm going to have a higher premium for implied volatility, which means that my premium is going to be high, so I have to be very careful about the expected move that I'm looking to make. So if it comes down to the 207 area, and the SPY actually holds the 200 moving average, I'm actually okay with buying calls here, short-term calls out maybe a month or so, with the expectation that the earnings hopefully will be a positive earnings and get the overall movement of Tesla to the upside. So that'll be a really quick play, hopefully a high profit short-term play. But this is also a high-risk play, so I would say stay away from it if you're not comfortable. But entry is going to be down here around 208. Assuming that SPY holds its current level. Amazon, don't like, do like about it. So I do like the fact that Amazon is holding my support line here. I'm actually okay with it even coming down to 100 psychological level, and it's been down there before. But right now we're maintaining my ascending support line. So that I do like. On the weekly chart for Amazon, we are below the 200 moving average. So I don't like that piece, but we've bounced significantly or really nice before, as you can see in this range here. So that was a really nice bounce before. So we'll see. Hopefully we get the same thing. This right here for me is more of a earnings play. Earnings for Amazon is going to be on the 27th of October. So it's going to be the same thing as Tesla. Wait for it to come down unless it respects this level, and then we expect for a nice little move up. So we'll see how that plays out. Google, what I do like and don't like. Earnings coming up 25 October. So keep that in mind. Risky trade there. With this being said, we have resistance and also a little support here. So this hopefully will be support as well. Price target I'm looking for here for it to come down to before my entry is $92 for Google. 92 also represents the 200 moving average as well on the weekly chart. So I have horizontal support resistance here, 200 moving average at 92. This is one that I actually may play for earnings, just recognizing that with that 25 October earnings call, the SPY needs to still maintain its current 200 moving average, which is around, as I said before, just to pull it back up before we close out. On the weekly chart, it's going to be right here at 358, but I'm looking or marking 357 just because that's the previous candlestick low here. So keep those numbers in mind. As always, I am available if you need me throughout the week. Expect updates in the Discord chat as well. With that being said, the last piece that I'll throw in here, look at the news as well. If you can, just kind of bring that into your overall cross check. A lot of news coming out about inflation and stuff like that. So that is really the driving force in what we're seeing in the market now. Keep that in mind as you're looking at the VIX and SPY. Make your trades based off of that. Where the market overall is going, rising tide will raise all ships, and the inverse is true as well. So do not try to trade against the market. But thanks so much. I appreciate your time as always, and I will catch you in the following weeks. Happy trading.